I am assuming that you clicked on this video because you were considering LASIK. So to kick this video off, let's talk about why I decided to get LASIK. I mean, I was so blind to the point where I was no longer nearsighted or farsighted, and I even needed my glasses to do things like walk to the bathroom. So how did I find my LASIK surgeon? Well, the first thing I did was I went to my eye doctor, and after seeing my eye doctor for this year's checkup, he said that my prescription hadn't changed at all. I asked him if I was now a candidate for LASIK. I actually have been a candidate the last couple years, with the exception of breastfeeding. You cannot be pregnant or breastfeeding when you get LASIK done. So even though my prescription wasn't getting worse and it had stabilized, I couldn't get LASIK done because I was either pregnant or breastfeeding. I am a 2 under 2 mom. My boys are 20 months apart, so I was pretty much back and forth between that for the last couple of years. So after I saw my eye doctor and he said that I was a great candidate and that I could go ahead and proceed with LASIK, I went to the doctor that he recommended. I actually made 2 appointments with 2 different surgeons, that surgeon that he referred me to, and then another surgeon in the area, and my plan was to compare the 2. But the consultation for LASIK was actually 3 hours long, so I just didn't have the time to go see a second center and spend like half a day dedicated to getting my eyes checked again. And I felt really, really comfortable with the doctor that my eye doctor had referred me to. And I also knew several people that he personally did their eyes as well, and they all had great things to say. So I ended up only getting one opinion. So my surgery was a little bit less than $4,500. They were running a $1,000 off promotion. So normally I guess it would be $550. So I do not know of any vision insurance companies that will actually let you use your insurance money that you would normally use for glasses or contacts towards your LASIK experience. If you happen to know one, definitely leave a comment down below because we would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you, and I know viewers would love to hear from you. But I know personally, all the plans that I've ever been on, and I've been with 4 different vision companies, none of them would cover LASIK because it was considered an elective surgery. So now that we've talked about the finance piece of LASIK and I told you about getting referred to the doctor and going through that experience, I'll tell you what happened at my consultation. So I was there for about 3.5 hours, and I would say maybe half of that was actual time where tests were being done on my eyes. The rest of the time I was either waiting or I was just, you know, killing time because I was waiting for that next step of the process. So when I got there, I had to fill out a bunch of paperwork. My consultation was completely free, so I did not need to pay anything out of pocket. And then of course I waited for the next step of the process, which was to go and get a bunch of tests done, and a tech did those. So they did a test where they just looked into my eyes, and I had to look at like a little house on a screen, and I'm sure they were measuring something to do with focus. There was another machine where they actually looked at the shape of my eye, and they were able to take like a 3D image. They were able to look at the shape. Do I have an astigmatism, anything like that, which I did have an astigmatism in my right eye. And then there was another machine that actually measured the thickness of my cornea, and that's really important because depending on the thickness of your cornea, you may or may not be a candidate for LASIK. If your cornea is not thick enough, they have to do this other type of surgery, which is called PRK. There's lots of videos on YouTube if you're wondering the difference between PRK and LASIK, so check those out after you finish my video. But PRK is a little bit more intensive in the recovery time. They actually put a contact band-aid over your eye after the surgery, and it's on for usually 4 or 5 days before they take it off. And the reason they have to use that contact is because your cornea is not thick enough for them to cut it and peel it back and then reapply it and like have your own cornea heal. So that's what happens in LASIK. PRK, a little bit different. But my cornea was thick enough, so that was the great news. And then there were 2 or 3 other like small tests that they needed to do with my prescription and just like testing my eyes. They asked me a lot of questions about whether or not I had dry eye. And then once they got through all those steps, I then went to another testing room, and I think there was maybe a 15 or 20 minute wait between those 2 rooms. My assumption is that if you have all those other tests done, my assumption is that if you have all those tests done I just mentioned and your cornea is not thick enough even for PRK, or your vision is just so bad or shape is so bad that they're not going to be able to help you, you do not move on to the next set of tests. So they're not going to waste your time dilating your eyes and doing additional tests if you don't even meet those early tests. So I passed, checked all those boxes, went on to the next set of tests. So the next set of tests was actually not with a tech, it was with an ophthalmologist, and he was a specialty ophthalmologist. He wasn't the surgeon, but he was a doctor that worked very closely with the surgeon. and he had me do an eye exam that would be very similar to what you would get at your regular eye doctor that you see. And then at the end of that, he went ahead and dilated my eyes, and he also had to numb my eyes because he actually needed to go in with this tool and touch my eye. So they put those drops into my eyes. It made my eyes a little bit yellow for a while when they dilated it and did this little test, but I didn't feel anything at all. In fact, he didn't even tell me he was gonna be poking my eye. So when he went to poke my eye, I was kind of like, oh gosh, because it was right there in my peripheral. But it was really, really quick and fast, and that part of the test really didn't take long at all. I'll tell you, they told me I could drive home from the consultation. You'll have to talk to your specific center because I think all centers have different rules, but mine said that I would be able to drive home. To be honest, I wish that I hadn't driven home because after you dilate your eyes are extremely sensitive to light. They gave me this little like sunglass thing that I had to put behind my glasses to basically turn my glasses into sunglasses so that I could drive home. But I did struggle with driving home, and it was about 40 minutes from the eye doctor to pick up my kids, and then I had another 10-minute drive or so from getting my kids to getting home. So I had to drive for nearly an hour, and I wish that I had just had my husband come with me. My eyes were really, really sensitive to light, and I didn't feel super comfortable about driving just because of how sensitive they were. So they sent me home with a date for my surgery, which was about a week or so later, and I knew what I would need to be doing leading up to the surgery, and that involved a lot of drops that you have to put into your eyes. So you're mostly using artificial tears for about 4 or 5 days leading up to the surgery. Everybody's eyes are a little bit different, so your eye doctor will tell you specifically what to do, but I couldn't wear my contacts for 5 days prior to surgery, and I was doing eye drops that entire time. And then one day before the surgery, I needed to start an antibiotic. And so it's just an eyedropper of antibiotics that you put in. I think it was 4 times a day that I needed to do it. And that antibiotic is just kind of setting you up for success so that when they do cut your cornea and, you know, try to have it heal the following day and thereafter, you're not as susceptible to an infection. And the last thing that you want to do is get an infection in your eye because it's extremely uncomfortable. You cannot touch your eyes after LASIK, so you certainly don't want them to be extra itchy because of an infection. So if your doctor gives you any kind of instructions for drops, definitely take them serious and make sure you do all the drops that they tell you to do. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'd be happy to chat further about this experience. I am a busy working mom to 2 toddlers. On my channel, I focus on pregnancy, postpartum, and motherhood as a working mom.
LASIK day. I'm so excited, but I'm also so nervous. I watched way too many YouTube videos last night. I probably shouldn't have done that, but at least I know what's going to happen. I'm most nervous about the speculum that they put in your eye and then the little circular thing that attaches to your cornea.